Hey folks, welcome back. This is Joel, and in this video we will talk about Duo. Right now, just last week I was playing around an EC2 instance on AWS, right? And I wanted to add some extra security quickly, right? And that's when I thought, okay, maybe let me enable MFA for my EC2 instance, right? So that's when I actually came across this, and it's a very simple pluggable module, and I thought maybe let me make a quick video on this to show you guys how you can add MFA for your SSH logins in your cloud instances. Right now, we have already talked about Duo a couple of times in the series before. We have talked about Duo with respect to VPNs, right, where we added MFA for our VPN remote users. But today we will not be dealing mainly with VPN. We'll actually enable MFA for very basic SSH logins into our EC2 instance. Cool. So I'll be following this nicely written guide, right, which is very nicely given down here, right, and we'll be following this step by step, and we'll get it up and running. Cool. All right. So like they say, there are a bunch of things to start with. Let's go down to my Duo dashboard, right? So this is my Duo dashboard. So you can if your organization is using Duo, you'll basically have a Duo admin dashboard. So this is just my lab account where I play around with some use cases. So this is how it looks, right? I really don't have much here. I have a Duo Beyond license activated, and I think I just have like a couple of users onboarded right now. All right. So you can anytime check what you're running. You can probably go to billing and you'll be able to see which license you're running. I'm basically running a trial license for Duo Beyond, and I basically have access to all these features, right? So that's about it, right? There's nothing very complicated down here. So what we'll do is, so that's one of the prerequisites, right? You need to sign up for the Duo account and go down to the admin panel, right, and navigate to applications. So let's go to the applications, and which application do we want to protect today, right? We'll click on protect an application, and the one which we want to protect is you gotta search by the name Unix, right? And here you go, at the bottom you'll find it. There's a Unix application. So I'm gonna click on protect. Okay. So once I do that, there are three things which are going to be generated for you: integration key, secret key, and API hostname. Right now, you guys will not be able to copy these keys of mine, because once I record this video, I'm going to delete this application. But these are three things which you should actually not share with anyone else, right? Or even if you share the secret key by mistake, better go and reset the secret key, right? So that's mainly it, right? So I'm going to keep this screen open because there's nothing really which we have to do on here once we have done till this step. So I'm going to keep this screen open. So let's go and check out what we're going to do next. Okay. So what we do next is let's go to our EC2 instance, and first let's spin up a VM. So let's go and say launch instance. Right, and let me select the most common one, which is the Amazon AMI. So I'm gonna click on that, and let's keep everything default, right? Let's go with T2 Micro itself. Let's keep this also default. Let's keep the VPC details default. Let's add storage. Let's use the default storage. And what else? So you want to add a tag, you can do that. Maybe let me add a tag. I'm going to say name. And I'm going to say what? This is my MFA instance. Right, I'm going to call this as MFA instance, just to make sure we distinguish if you have multiple instances running. I'm going to say configure a security group. Let's use the default one, right? The SSH. We just want SSH into the instance, so I'm going to use the default one. And that's mainly it, guys. I'm going to say launch. Okay, the key. So right now, do I have this key already? Probably I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new key, and I'm going to call this as what? MFA, or probably let's give my username, which is bits please, right? Generally, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to download the key. Okay, and I'm going to say launch the instance. So I'm going to save that, obviously. Okay, I'm going to save that, and then we are going to click on launch instance. All right, so this will take probably a couple of minutes. I'm going to pause the video and come back until the instance is launched. All right, so looks like our EC2 instance is up. So let's try to connect to this one. What's the public IP over here? Let's copy that. Let's come here. Give me one sec. All right, yeah. So how do we connect? We'll do SSH and which is my bits place, right? And what would be my username? So it's going to be EC2-user at the IP address which we copied from the EC2 page. So this is how you normally SSH into your EC2 machine, right? So let's click enter, and yeah, there you go. This is dropped you right into the EC2 machine. Okay, now this is good. I mean, this is decent, but technically anyone can log into your machine if they somehow get hold of this key, right, which is so not really secure, right? So that's where we can basically enable MFA or multi-factor authentication, right? And that's what we're going to do now, right? So let's come back to our guide, which is over here. So there are a bunch of steps which we need to follow to make this work, right? So we have done basically done all of this. There's one thing which we need to do now is download this. It's basically extension module, right, which Duo has. You can even go and check out the source code on the GitHub page. I think there's a link for the GitHub as well somewhere here, yeah, over here. But in our case, we'll just download it into our machine now, right? So let's go and download it. So we're gonna do wget, and let's grab that Duo Unix latest image, right? So there you go. So let's see if it got downloaded. There you go, that is there. So once it is downloaded, what we'll do is we'll untar it. So let's do that. Okay, there you go, we untarred it. Let's look at the folder. There you go, it got untarred into this, right? So right now this is the folder, and inside this we've got the contents. Basically we have extracted the whole Unix module, the Duo Unix module, into this particular folder, right? So we get into that folder and we'll basically start installing this pamd Duo module, right, which is very important, right? So let me clear the screen a little bit, okay, so that we can see. Okay, so now we are basically going to install. Wait, before installing, do I need to do something else? I think there is one step which I missed. Okay, so there is this one particular step, right, in this box, which are basically the dependencies, right? There are certain dependencies which you need to install, right? So let's go and do that. So first is OpenSSL, right? And since our Amazon AMI is basically a Red Hat base, we'll go and install the dependency using this, right? So let me just delete this for now. And better let me get into the root, because all of these installations would need the root privileges. So this is pretty simple, right? So I'm going to say yum install and open, and I'm going to say yes. So let's quickly install that. Which is the next thing we need to install? We need to install one more dependency, which is the lippam. And since we are using Red Hat, this will be the command for us, right? So let's get and do that, right? Let's do that. Yes, it's installing. I'm going to say yes. Okay, and the last one probably is the actually last two things. Okay, we need this one. Let's install this, which is a I think SE Linux, which is basically your security enhanced Linux. So I'm going to install that, and the last one would be your bzip. Okay, so it looks like this is also another dependency. We need to install that. Okay, so they have given a very nicely, nice fashion, they have given all the steps, all the dependencies which we need to install. The other thing is we might need to install GCC, right? If your system already has GCC, well and good. In my case, I'm going to just do install GCC, and if it is not that, it gets installed. There you go. So it's getting installed. So I'm going to say yes, and that should take care of it, right? So that's installing GCC, which is good. Now what we can do is we'll get into this folder. Are we already inside that folder? Maybe not. So let's get into that folder where we untarred the Duo file, right? So let's do that. So let's get into cd home, and I believe it's inside a user called EC2 user, right? I'm gonna do ls, and let's get into Duo. Okay, cool. Let's clear the screen. So we are in the right folder, now we can install it using the /configure command. So let's install the Duo which we downloaded, the Duo Unix module which we downloaded, right? So this is going to install it, right? So this will take probably a few seconds. While this is happening in the background, let's go and see what we need to do next. Okay, so next what we need to do is, remember I showed you guys this application page where we have these three keys, right? Couple of keys and the API hostname. We need to basically link this, or we need to take this information and we need to dump it inside our machine, right? In this particular directory, right? Or basically in this particular location, right? So let's do that. So once this, okay, that's good. Looks like it is installed. So let's go with the next step, which is we'll basically get into this, which is, I think it's because it's Linux. So let's try this. Where is this cd etc, and I believe it's inside the location called Duo, right? Okay, so we'll go in here, and what's the file name? It's called pamduo.conf. Let's see if there is a file of that name. Yep, there we go. So I'm gonna do nano, and I'm gonna do pamduo.conf, and this is what we have as of now. Integration key, secret key, and API hostname. So let's go and grab that. So I'm gonna say select, copy, and first is the Duo integration key. So I'm gonna paste it here. Okay. Next is second is the secret key, right? So I'm gonna copy that as well. Like I said, never share your secret key. In my case, I'm obviously going to delete this application once I record the video. The third one is the API hostname. So let's grab that. Okay, there we go. So that's the API hostname. There's one more, parameter which really helps. What you can do is you can say auto push, right? So that you will not be prompted to, if you want to have a Duo push or do you want a SMS code and stuff, right? This will directly push. So I'm going to say auto push equals yes. Okay, that's mainly it. So I'm going to say save this, and which file does it want to write? Yeah, same file, and I'm going to exit this. Cool. So that's all about this particular step. What we need to do next? Next, we'll enable the public key authentication. So there will always be a file in this particular folder. Let's go to etc again and ssh. Right. So let's get into ssh, and here generally you will have a file called sshd config. Yeah, there you go. So I'm gonna do sshd config. Let's get into this particular file. And there'll be a bunch of things which we need to enable here. First thing would be authentication. So we need to permit the authentication. Where is that? Yeah, over here, right? So password authentication is no already, which is good, but we'll need to enable public key authentication. So here I'm gonna go and uncomment this to yes, right? So public key authentication is yes. Password key authentication is no, which is perfect. There's probably one more thing. What we can do is this particular attribute, it's good to add, which is authentication methods, right? So let's add that. Let's add it over here. Okay, that's good. What else? Do we need to do anything else? Okay, so there are three more things which we need to enable. Basically, because we are using this pluggable authentication module, right? We need to enable these three options as well. So let's go and search them. How do you search? You can do Control W, and you can search. You can put in some text now. You can say use spam. Let's search where is use spam. Okay, there you go. Use spam is already turned on, which is good. What else? The next two things are challenge response authentication. That should be yes. So let's search that. Challenge. Okay, challenge response authentication. Okay, so let's uncomment that, and let's go to the next line and comment this, right? So that way we have challenge response authentication equals yes. What else? And the other one is use DNS. Okay, so let's go and okay, I think we need to disable use DNS. So let's go and do that. So I'll basically again use Control W, and I'm gonna say use DNS. Right, there you go. So I'm gonna uncomment that. Use DNS equals no. Right, that's what we want. So I'm gonna Control O because I have to save this, and let's come out of this file. Awesome. Alright, so that's mainly it. The next is we need to configure the PAM, which is basically the module which we just now set up, right? So first is, let's go and because we are doing it on RHEL, right, this pamduo.so, right, this particular file will be either present on in this path or here. So we have to go and check where it is. In our case, it will generally be in the lib64, but just to confirm, let's go and do that. So we'll go to lib64, and what is the in the security folder, right, there you go. Let's do a ls here, and you'll basically find this pamduo.so, right, there you go. So that's the file. Now that we have noted down the location is very important, right? The location is pwd, there you go, this is the location. So throughout the next set of configuration, remember to use that location, right? So first things first, we'll get into etc again. So we'll go inside the etc folder, and we'll get into the pam.d folder, okay? And here you will basically find a file called sshd. So we have to edit that file. So let's do that. So let's see if that file exists, and looks like it exists. So I'm going to say nano and ssh, do one more sshd. Yeah, there you go. Right. So we have to edit this. What do we need to edit? You can see this is what we have, but we need to basically comment the second line, and we need to add this configuration, right? So I'm going to copy that. And let's come here, let's comment out the second line, and let's add 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Let's go to the top and let's paste it, okay? There's one important thing here. Remember I said this pamduo, which is in the second line here, over here, right? So we need to provide the full path, which we earlier captured, right? Basically it is nothing but this one. So I'm gonna copy that, okay? So let's go and paste it here. So that's important, right? Because our pamduo is not in the default location. It is actually in this particular location. So you need to make sure that you provide the full path for the pamduo.so file. Okay. So that being said, I think we are done here. So I'm going to say Control O and save this. And let's come out of this one. Also, there is another thing, right? Because most of this, I think the Amazon AMI also comes with the SE Linux, which is Security Enhanced Linux, right? I think it comes by default. So what we'll do is we'll basically we'll allow our Duo to talk to the external world by following those few commands over there. So we'll basically get to the folder where we have installed our Duo, which is sorry, not in Etsy, it's in Home and EC2 user, right? And inside the Duo folder, right? There you go. Let's clear the screen a little bit. Okay, so we are inside that folder, and let's run the commands which are given to us over there. Okay, so let's go to the second one. I mean, you really did not know all the meanings of each of these commands, because they have given a very good step-by-step process to do it. So we'll just follow it. And once we are done with those 2 commands, when we run this grep, right, we need to get the auth login Duo. So let's wait for this command to finish. It's still running in the background. There you go, it's done. So I'm going to say SE module, and now, yeah, there you go, right? So we have the auth login Duo. That's what is expected. Okay. The next is what? There's one last step, which is enable system-wide authentication, right? So we need to get to this path again. So we'll get into that particular path, pamd, and here there is a file which is nothing but the system auth. So we'll have to edit that. So I'm going to say nano system auth. Okay, very similar to the configuration which we did earlier, right? Here you can see this is what we have, right? These 4 lines which we have over there. Actually, we have looks like 3 lines. Interesting. Okay, probably the documentation has not been updated since then. Yes. Okay, give me one sec. Let me check if that's not an error. All right. So I think it should still be fine, but just to be safer, let's grab that missing line and add it as well. So the first step is commenting out the second line, which is what the documentation says, and let's come to the next line, right? So let's go and put the one which is missing, and these are the 2 lines which we need to add. I don't remember doing this last time, but maybe, yeah, something which I missed. Okay, so we've added that. Remember, whenever you add the pamduo, make sure you add the full path. So let's go and grab that full path, which is actually this one, right? So let's grab that. Right, so okay, so we are gonna put in the full path here, and I think that looks good, right? So yeah, that looks good. So I'm gonna save this. Okay, so that's good. Okay, what else is remaining, guys? So I think that's it. I think now we should be able to test out if this really works, right? Because I've actually already, I think I've already added this particular user, which is EC2 user, to my Duo dashboard. But then if you have not added, you can manually add as well, right? You can say add user and add it. Or if you basically add it before, I believe what will happen is, if you have not really added the user, the first time when you SSH into the box, it will give you a URL, right? And using this URL, you can actually add the user, right? Now in my case, what I'm going to do now is, let's try this, right? So give me a second, let me connect my phone to the laptop. All right, so looks like my phone is here. So what I'm going to do is, let me see if I can pull this a bit to the left. Yeah, that's good. So let me just split this horizontally, and let me actually SSH into my machine now, right? So let's do that. So I think this should be it, right? This is my key, right? And this is the user, and I'm gonna SSH into it. And as soon as I do that, I should, there you go, right? See, I've got this thing. So I'm gonna authenticate that. And where is it? So let's open this. Let's open the Duo prompt. Okay, you can't really see that, but you saw me getting the prompt, and now I've approved it, and there you go. I've got the access, right? So that was pretty simple, guys. I mean, it's that simple to kind of use, multi-factor authentication to SSH into your workloads on cloud, right? Hope that was useful. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one. Bye.